Okay, should be live. Yeah, there we go. We are live. Okay, awesome. So, yeah, I actually wanted to start with the Android architecture fundamentals. Maybe I should open a new window for it. I should probably get rid of all the other tabs, most of the other tabs, a good number of them at least. Developer.android.com. Okay, I do have the thing. I just want to go through. Today it's going to be a relatively short stream. Like, I kind of want to stop in about half an hour, 45 minutes. But I just want to sort of brush up again on the Android developer fundamentals, like specifically for the architecture, because I don't really remember much of what we were doing last time. Let's see. Developers, Google I/O, developer guides. It was the architecture which I wanted to see, so I think that's essentially here. Why is this on light theme? Yeah, there we go. Much better. Okay, so app architecture design, blah blah blah, testable, guide to app architecture. I hope the music isn't too loud. It might be actually. Let me just see if I can reduce that a little bit. Um, can I pull this down? Yeah, there we go. Okay, awesome. Shouldn't be like super loud now. Yeah. So anyway, so app architecture, I just kind of want to see, okay, learn the basics with guide to app architecture, fine-tuning app navigation, mm, boilerplate dependency injection guides. Yeah, I do want to see the dependency injection part. We'll come to that eventually. Um, Paging from the network and database. Oh, paging. Okay. Work manager. Mm-hmm. Oh. Can we actually migrate entirely from live data away from live data to Kotlin Flow? Um, I thought we still needed live data because some interfaces in Android don't actually allow you to use anything other than live data. Am I wrong? Mm. Fuck it. Let's just go into the guide and see what happens. All right. So I actually wanted to wait. So there was something called Dendron which I wanted to install for notes. How exactly do we go about installing it? I think it's really just um, I haven't really used this before at all. So we can sort of do this from VS Code directly, right? So let me just launch VS Code. Ba, 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 ba. Maybe I should have kept VS Code on the SSD instead of the hard disk. Would have sped up the loading times for everything. So wait, extensions, the very first thing I kind of want to install is Markdown all-in-one. So if you search Markdown, the very first one you get is Markdown all-in-one, which I will install immediately because it's fantastic. Um, and then Dendron, there's the one, right? It's on 0.69.1. Nice. Mm, Install. How large is this? Okay. I want to know what they collect. I'm okay with um, collecting software. How many people, performant. Mm-hmm. Never collect data inside your notes. Okay, that's good. I'm good with all this. Durations. Okay, number of. Okay. Number of notes rounded to the nearest 10 notes. Walls and workspace. No caching. Workspace type. Okay, sure. I'm okay with that. So get started. Mm. Ooh, okay. Why did it put it why did it put it inside C? Don't put it in C, man. I think restricted mode is fine, right? Um, sure. I've used Google Keep. I wanted to use Obsidian, but I haven't actually used it. Notion, I haven't really. I sort of used Notion. Okay. Simulus, what's up, man? How's it going? I told you I don't really stream Apex, man. At least not yet. I mostly write software. That's kind of what I do. It's been a long time since the last stream. Like last I streamed last in like August, I think. Like I mean I streamed yesterday. Sort of kickstarted again, but sort of trying to get back to my regular schedule. But yeah, the last time I streamed before that was actually in August. And after that, like work was messed up, extremely busy for multiple months, and so I just couldn't. um, yeah, so I'm just trying to like go through the Android app architecture and like because it's been a long time since I last went through this. Um, yeah, I mean, it's not game. I'm not working on game development. It's really just, unfortunately, Twitch doesn't provide enough sort of differences between the categories. Like, it's just software and game development as a single category right now. But the way it used to be was that we had to actually stream this under science and technology. This category itself is very new. It came up, I think, about 3 or 4 months ago. Maybe 3 months around. Yeah, it's about 3 months old. Like before that point, we had to stream under science and technology, which is kind of like a very very broad banner to sort of stream software. So luckily, they've made like a separate category for software development specifically, which is nice. But yeah, I mean, most people developing software on Twitch do like game dev. I don't really do game dev, not yet at least, but that's something I'll probably head into that at some other point. But right now, no interest in that specifically. Right now, I'm basically trying to learn Kotlin. So because of that, like Android is actually really really good for learning Kotlin. So that's kind of what I'm doing. So yeah. I work in Java at work, but I'm trying to get folks to switch to Kotlin. So it's sort of like I need to be the expert from my end to be able to convince people to do that. So yeah. That's basically what it is. I'll let you know if I stream Apex sometime. Because it's possible. It's possible now with this PC. The new one that I have, the old one was too weak to be able to play Apex and stream at the same time. This one's okay. It has like I have a 3060 now on the laptop, but yeah. So I don't know if I stream Apex. Yeah, I'll I'll let you know. But yeah. Uh, okay. What is it that I wanted to see? Yeah, 3060, let's go. It's really good, dude. It's really good. I'm getting solid 144 FPS no matter what I do. Like there could be like 15 grenades going off and it's perfectly fine. Right? Like I mean, I die of course, but the frames don't dip. So, yay. I can die in style. Yeah, I mean that's like the first thing I told my friend. Like he was like, "Oh wow, you must be winning games now." I'm like, "No, I'm just losing, but it looks good." I'm still losing. It just looks a lot better. Losing smoother. So yeah. Oh man. Okay. Oh, you activities fragments. Oh yeah. Shit. I forgot most of this stuff. God, it's been so long. It's been months. It's so easy to forget stuff with Android code because it's kind of. I hear you Apex players are all sweats. Oh yeah, really. You hear that, do you? Oh man. How's it going, man? How was your day yesterday? What's up? I actually went yesterday for dinner to meet a friend for the first time who I actually met on Twitch. So like it was fun, interesting experience. Like it's been an um I don't think I've ever met anyone like before this point. Like I don't think I've ever had an experience where I've met someone for the first time. Um like IRL who had, like met online only before that point. I don't think that's ever happened to me so far. But yeah, it was good. Started working out again finally. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I actually need to start like sort of I had a little bit of an exercise thing going on before I went on vacation, but then you know what happens when you go on vacation, right? It's sort of like you're in a different environment and it's like, Makalad and all that stuff. And it's like, you at home, it's just you sleep whenever you want, wake up whenever you want, and all that discipline just goes out of the window. So yeah, I kind of need to get back in that, but I'm still trying to figure out like a schedule in which I can fit everything, like waking up and because like I shifted recently in at the start of October to like a 1 BHK. Before this, like we were in a shared apartment, but I shifted to like an apartment of my own. So now I'm like in a new apartment. It's a 1 BHK, but the upside is obviously like, it's there's privacy, you kind of get to do whatever you want, but the downside is you kind of have to manage everything as well. So it's a lot harder to just like you can't really rely on anyone else because there is no one else. So that's kind of the downside. So it's like I'm still trying to slot everything into the schedule. It's like, okay, I need to wake up at this time, need to get a little more disciplined about when I sleep, when I wake up, and all of that stuff. And that's proving super hard, especially now because like Bangalore is really cold. And so in the morning, I just don't want to wake up at all. Like it's sort of like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm okay with just sleeping nonstop. So yeah. Mm. Paste images directly. Yeah, this will be useful. I'll probably have to get that. Blah blah blah. Mm, okay, this is probably gonna take a while. I see. I'm lucky. Pune weather is good. I don't mean to distract you much. No. It's not a problem. I completely welcome distractions. Absolutely welcome distractions. Like that's literally what half my stream is like. It's mostly just distractions, honestly. Like like there are a few folks who come on here where if they're online, like I'm basically not gonna do any of the planned work at all. Like they'll just be sending links to various articles and stuff, and I'll be reading a lot of random stuff. So it's sort of like, oh, okay, there's this particular thing going on in the tech world, or this new library or this new development. Something is happening, and I'm just like browsing GitHub, and I'll be going down this rabbit hole for like the next 25 minutes and completely forget about what I was planning to do initially. So that's normal. That's normal. I'm used to it. At this point, I welcome it. It's pretty cool. Pune weather is good. I think, yeah, it's sort of like it's not supposed to be like raining this hard right now over here, but the rain is making it colder. It's not supposed to be raining this hard, but there's like sort of a cyclone or something off the coast of Chennai. So off the east coast, there's like some sort of a cyclone thing going on. I don't really know, but there's some major weather pattern change, and so because of that, it's the whole of South India just has really out of season weather. Like it's not supposed to be raining this hard at this time in Bangalore, but it is. Like we are well past monsoon technically, but it's still raining like super hard. Yesterday when I was coming back from meeting that friend, like I got like it was basically raining like really hard all the way back. Like while I was getting there, the roads got almost flooded, and then it stopped right as I reached home. And I was like, okay, yeah, I don't know, like the gods must want good things for me yesterday. I don't know. It was like I reached home and the rain immediately stopped. It stopped like literally a minute before I got out of the auto. So I was like, okay, cool. At least like I don't have to because I had completely forgotten my umbrella, like the moron that I am. But yeah, yeah. I guess yeah. Pune must be better right now. Uh, I think I'll probably need to go through this later and so I remind. I'll probably need to go through this later in some depth because this seems to be a lot longer than I thought it would be. Uh, okay. I actually thought it would be like a lot quicker to set up, but yeah, that's fine. For now, I think I'll just open. Um, Bro, no one carries umbrellas. It's fascinating. Even I don't give a fuck about umbrellas. Yeah, I mean, it's true, but it's sort of like it's like one of those things where you you know it's gonna rain, right? It's not like you're completely like it's not like you're like okay, oh, I got caught in the rain like all of a sudden, right? I know it's raining here. I know it's raining super bad, right? And it's sort of like if it isn't raining right now, I almost always forget the umbrella. Like that's the weird part. It's sort of like it's always on the forefront of my brain when I'm not going out. And the moment when I'm going out, I'm like, okay, yeah, wallet, okay, phone, okay, watch, okay. I wear all these things. I'm like, umbrella never pops up in my head at that point of time. I don't know why. Like I step outside, I get into the auto, and then I'm like, oh yeah, there was the umbrella. Right, right, right. That was the thing I had to take. Like I don't know. Fuck, man. Like the whole time otherwise I'm talking about the rain, I'm bitching about the rain to my mom, to whoever would fucking listen to it, and it's just like I'm basically just saying, oh yeah, it's raining so hard in Bangalore, it's so out of season. It's just like, and that's literally what I'm thinking about most of the time, right? And like when I'm going out at that point, it just doesn't strike me, oh yeah, you need to take an umbrella. Like come on, like it's it's just stupid, but it's like it's just something problem a lot of people have, I guess. But yeah, Bangalore weather is like a little bit weird right now. It's still good. It's still like, I mean, I still like the weather at least like as long as I have to stay indoors. Luckily my office hasn't like forced us to come back yet, which works for me. Works out well, like in the sense that I can stream as well. So it's sort of like I can stream to like 12:30, 1 p.m. ish, and then I start working because I'm usually working till like fairly late, 8 p.m., 9 p.m. So usually I stream like, I've decided to stream like 11 to 12:30 ish, somewhere around that. So what's up, Mad Flash? What's going on? So as long as my office isn't calling me back, I'm fine with this. Let it rain. It's anyway that's happening outside. I don't have to worry about it. But like, yeah, the day they force us back, if it's like if the weather's still like this, I'm gonna hate it. It's gonna be bad. Cause yeah, like I don't own a car, I don't drive or anything, so it's sort of like I have to find like public transport or something, and that's not ideal to do over here. Not while it's raining, that's for sure. Oh man. Mm, User experience. Okay, so the components I'm familiar with. The manifest. Okay, that's fine. Um, okay. You shouldn't store any app data or state in your app components. Yep, that's true. Shouldn't depend on each other. That's also true. Okay, so separation of concerns. Okay. Um, you're trying to write a stack-based language. What do you mean by stack-based language? Aren't most languages stack-based? What are non-stack-based languages? Like, I can say that any language that kind of calls methods, which recursively can call other methods, are basically stack-based, right? I mean, that's kind of where your the primary. I suppose Java isn't stack-based to some extent because the default mode for everything is to allocate memory on the heap. Oh, that's what you mean. Okay. You're talking about okay, so it's not you're not talking about stack. You don't mean stack-based language, you mean Polish notation. You mean Polish notation language, basically. Polish notation, right? So this is basically what you're talking about. Can be written as okay, so this is the prefix, there's a postfix notation. You're sort of looking at. Alright man, I'll lurk, maybe I'll come again later, see you later. Oh, alright man, Stimulus, thanks for stopping by. I'll let you know if I stream Apex sometime. I think it's a distinct possibility, but yeah, I might do it. I'm horrible at the game though. I'm really really bad at the game. I'm like fucking like I'm like basically sort of hard stuck gold. So yeah, don't expect too much. But anyway, I'll let you know. Yeah, kind of stack based. 39 plus ASM is stack based. Stack based could be reverse or not reverse Polish. Yeah, exactly. So it's like Polish notation or the reverse Polish notation. You have that, right? So, but okay, that's interesting. But I mean, you'd want you'd want your execution to happen this way, right? Like by like specifically, are you trying to make it such that you have to code in this manner? Because this is not generally something which people use, right? Like 39 plus, like for example, like this is not the way that people generally think. Like when you're trying to write like mathematical operators, for instance. I mean, of course, like if you're trying to call functions or something, the way we do this is sort of like actually that's like a weird thing, right? Like the natural way for programmers to call functions is like add 3 comma 9, right? It's like this. Like we don't really think of it as 3 add 9, right? We think of it as add 3 and 9, right? So this is sort of like this is the order in which you have things, so it's already operator followed by operands, right? But if you're looking at it mathematically, people try to write it as 3 plus 9. They never write it as plus 3 9, right? Like they write it as 3 plus 9. Is the language? Yeah, it's true. No, I was just thinking it's like it's a little bit interesting that that's how people think. Like if I saw something which was written as plus 3 comma 9, I'd be like, wait, this looks weird. Like what is this, right? But I see 3 plus 9 and I'm like, I immediately get what's happening. Meanwhile, it's sort of the reverse for functions. Like because in Kotlin, I can actually write functions as 3 add 9, like because I can sort of make them infix. I can write like sort of infix functions, infix operator functions where I can basically write them in this manner, right? You can write the function name in the middle like an operator, and it sort of works. Uh, that's the whole game. Oh, so as in okay, so it's sort of like you're trying to like you're making sort of an esoteric language, like the whole idea is to try and write the code in a reverse Polish notation manner, I'm supposing. Is that right? Code would look interesting that given that, like it's sort of like a 3 9 add. If you had to write code like this, like it would just be like I suppose like you'd start thinking differently because like people look at the operands first and the operands now take a little bit more sort of space in your brain, right? I don't know how to explain that better, but it's sort of like the operands are the first thing that come to your mind when you think about it. So it's sort of like what the values of the operands are matters a lot more to you because it's just that's what your brain sees first. So PostScript, is that a language? I think it's a language, right? I intend to write lang. I don't know why I wrote land. PostScript. Page description language created at Adobe Systems. I see. I see. I see. I see. 20. Oh, I see. I see how it is. 20 select font, so it becomes 20 becomes a font size. 75, 72, 500 move to, so it's suppose like its coordinates 72, 5. Yeah, 72, 500. Yeah, that's what's happening. Hello world show, so it shows hello world and then show page. Interesting. So it is this exact type of. Hmm. It's kind of cute. That's true. That's true. That's true. Yeah, I feel like so with this, like if you notice, right? Let's say for example, you're running your eyes along the code vertically. Essentially, you're just skimming the code. You know what you do, right? Like you usually just skim the code. So usually with normal pieces of code, like consider in Kotlin or Java or anything like that, if you're skimming the code, what you see first is all these things. You see the select font, you see the move to, so you see the operations that are being performed. But now, if you're skimming code along the left hand side, if you're skimming code, because the left hand side is the only thing which is aligned, right? For sure. Like, notice that the select font and move to are not vertically aligned. One is here, one is here, right? So it's not like vertically, they're not vertically aligned. Um, so this, what you actually see when you look vertically downwards is the operands, and so the operands kind of become a little more important. So in your head, like you'll remember that it's 20 points the size of the font, but it remains like it's sort of like it's still an open question to me, like whether that actually matters, because in most like configurations and programming languages and programs that you write, the operand value doesn't particularly matter. Like it's like, yeah, whatever, you set the font to 20 or 22, who cares, right? So it's just an implementation detail. But what's more important is that you are selecting a font and then you're moving to a different point and then you're showing a particular piece of text. The value doesn't matter, is what I'm saying, right? It's more like the actions that you perform that matter more, which is the reason why I feel like that works better, at least from like a practicality standpoint, having the operator first, right? So it would be select font 20, move to 72 500, show hello world, in that order, like the way a normal programming language is, right? So with I don't know if that's like prefix notation or something, if that's what's called it's called, but yeah, the normal Polish notation, right? I suppose that's what that is. But yeah, this is reverse, I suppose. But it's still interesting. It's interesting that this exists. I hadn't exactly, like, I'd heard of this language. I definitely have heard of this language. I haven't really seen any code or any configurations written in it. So yeah, it's just, this is a good question. Is it still used? Intermediate document format. Okay, so it lets you kind of, we use it to convert into PDFs, I suppose. Fully fledged programming language allowing you to compute graphics, which PDF doesn't. I see. Ah, just the result. I see. Okay. So it's sort of like PDF is sort of the rasterized image, while PostScript will give you the vectors that are necessary to make it, that kind of thing. I suppose it's the same sort of equivalent, that you have SVGs, which are sort of vectors, but then you can convert them into a PNG to display on a website or something, or, yeah. Writing an actual modern looking language is a challenge. Absolutely. Absolutely. Which is why I feel like good languages which come out and become well known and stuff are very rare. Like it doesn't happen very often. Like recently, what's happened is like what you have Kotlin, you have TypeScript, and you have Rust. That's about it. Those are the three languages which have been crafted relatively recently, which have sort of become well known and actually work and have something unique, right? Like basically are solving a problem in a certain sense. Like TypeScript solves the problem of, well, JavaScript. JavaScript is a problem more than a solution. It's really a problem at this point. Um, Kotlin solves a ton of problems with Java, including the very big problem of null safety. And Rust, well, Rust is really solving for a lot of things that C++ really has open problems with. So it's sort of like each of them is, why is JS a problem? You should ask Time Lord that, like, because he has, I think, like, over over the over the course of time, he's put um like he's sent across so many examples. At least at this point, it must be about 40 or 50 separate examples for different things in JavaScript, which just don't make any fucking sense. All right. Like, so JavaScript, the main problem is really the weak typing, like extremely weak type system. And, just sort of like the implicit conversions that happen all over the place. And I think it just sort of starts from there. Like, JavaScript requires you to memorize and remember a lot of very unintuitive rules. Like, for example, you can have, so um this is equal to this, right? And stuff like that. Like, you have a lot of weird, unintuitive things, and in some cases, it's just really, really horrible. So, yeah, JavaScript is, I would say, at this point, because given the scale of programs that are being written on the web, like, the way the web has expanded and the way like different companies and different like platforms are offering services, the given the stuff that's being written in JavaScript, it's not like a joke language anymore. It's not like the kind of kiddie scripting language that it used to be. Like, the whole idea of JavaScript was like, it's gonna run only on your browser, so it's fine if it's a little bit broken and maybe some part of the page will break, but that's only gonna happen for some users and blah blah blah. That was fine, right? Now that's no longer fine because it's running on the server and it's doing much more complex stuff. I know people who have done fucking cryptography in JavaScript. There are OSs written in JavaScript. There's a lot of weird shit written in JavaScript, right? So it's sort of like, at that point, I feel like, come on, you need to grow up now. You can't, you need to be a big boy language. And unfortunately, JavaScript isn't that, and that's the reason why it's a problem. It's eventually like, so that's kind of what I feel like TypeScript is better, because it kind of gives you a saner type system. It actually makes it something which is eligible for more serious applications, while still kind of transpiling down to JavaScript and working in the same framework without you requiring to do more stuff to make that work. So I feel like that strikes a good balance. But yeah, like I said, that's kind of the reason why I think, like, yeah, but that's kind of the thing. Modern looking languages, writing them, it's a challenge because you need to be actually solving a real problem with it, which if you aren't, then there's no point. Rust is a bitch. I honestly don't know enough about Rust to come to like really comment on it, but from the people who do know Rust that I've spoken to, like, and of course I like at C++ I do know. I have worked with it in a professional capacity, and given the way it is, I feel like there's just like, a lot of things I've heard about Rust are like solving direct problems that C++ has, and so that's kind of where it is. And yeah, and there's like a lot of things like, how do you sort of get memory safety without you know sacrificing performance, and that's like an interesting problem that Rust has done a fairly good attempt at solving, right? Of course, like, it's a very different model, a very different paradigm. The whole ownership paradigm is very, very different from what any other language has. I feel like that's kind of inventive. It's good, but it's also a problem because like people coming from more traditional languages don't really adapt very well to Rust. Like, the whole point is like how you're not, the whole thing that you're not supposed to like write um a linked list in Rust, for instance, right? Like, so because linked lists are horrible for the way Rust manages memory. So yeah. Remember when I asked you about Node? I abandoned that Node script. I do remember when you asked me about Node, but that was like a long time ago. I don't remember too much about what it was for, but yeah, it's, I guess, yeah. Node is, I guess Node is okay, like if you're using TypeScript and transpilers now, but apart from that, I don't know. There's Deno and there's like a bunch of other things. I don't really know, like, server side, what sort of the recommendation now to use. I suppose it's still Node.js is what's sort of leading if you're trying to make like a small to medium size project. I suppose it's still Node.js. That's like your best choice, unless of course, like, you're in Python land, or really into Python or really into Rust or something, in which case you might want something that kind of works for that language. But in general, I feel like it's still Node.js. I don't think Deno kicked off as much as Ryan Dahl would have hoped it to. Like, Ryan Dahl is the creator of Node.js and he hates Node.js. He has a very famous talk on 10 mistakes in Node.js. I think it's something like this. Um, 10 things I regret about Node.js. This is the one. It's a famous talk. It's a famous talk. So Ryan Dahl gave this, and he was talking about Deno. Um, so it's a set of 10 flaws, but of course it has more flaws than 10, but it's sort of like the 10 major flaws of Node.js, and like this is the thing, right? Promises, the security of Node, the build system, package.json, Node modules, of course, Node modules, the number one regret of mankind, and a bunch of things. It's my fault, and I'm very sorry. Unfortunately, it's impossible to undo now. So like a lot of these things, and he does that, and he sort of talks about Deno. I don't know why there are only seven listed. There are actually 10. Um, but but yeah. So like Deno is supposed to be the new way to do things. I don't know if it's pronounced Deno or Dino or something. I'm supposing it's Deno, but yeah, it's supposed to be the new way to do things. Anyway, that's that. Okay. Separation of concerns. Um, okay, don't write everything in your activity in Fragment. You don't own implementations of activity in Fragment. Wait, what? Oh yeah, of course. This is like a very, very good point. This is an excellent point that when you have activities in your Android app, you don't own the implementation of that activity. You don't own the object. You've only specified the contract. You've only specified the blueprint, the class. The actual activity instance is owned and managed purely by the OS, and that's outside your control. So it's a very weird way of thinking about it because in almost no other case in programming will you be writing a class whose implementations you do not create in your own code, right? Like that's usually never a thing that you do, that you write a bulk of your actual logic into a class whose objects, whose implementations you do not create and you do not have any authority on. That normally never happens, but that's the thing in the Android operating system because you know if it runs out of memory, the OS needs to be able to kill all of that stuff. So it's sort of like it creates everything, it destroys everything, can destroy them at any time, and you need to be cognizant of that. And the contract you provide is supposed to be in such a way that you don't really store information inside the activity or the fragment instances, because if you do, they're going to get destroyed. So minimize your dependency on them, drive UI from model, persistent model. Models are components that are responsible for handling the data for an app, independent from the view objects and the app components in your app, so they're unaffected by the app's lifecycle and the associated concerns. Persistence is ideal for the following reasons. Your users don't lose data if the Android OS destroys your app to free up resources. Your app continues to work in cases where a network connection is flaky or not available. Basing your app on model classes with a well defined responsibility of managing the data, your app is more testable and consistent. Mhm. Okay. App architecture. It's impossible to have one way of writing apps that works best for every scenario. Recommended architecture is a good starting point for most situations and workflows. If you already have a good way of writing Android app that follows the common architectural patterns, you don't need to change it. Mhm. Oh, that was just above. Okay. That's it. The principles are just two. I would have expected there to be more. Just two. I mean, separation of concerns, obviously, and then use the model. That's it. Okay. All right. So activity fragment depends on view model, which has some live data, and repository, room, retrofit, SQLite web service. Uh, okay. Basically, yeah, depends on a view model. The view model itself. Okay, so this is, yeah, it's sort of controlled by the view model. The view model itself gets the data from a repository, which is sort of like your own abstraction of the underlying data sources. So you can have a model which is coming from a database, and you can have a another sort of model for something else coming from a web service. And the repository kind of abstracts that away from the rest of the app. So one level below it. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Several days later, instantly see the user's information that the app persists locally. If the data is stale, the app repository model starts updating the data in the background. UI consists of a fragment, user profile fragment, and the corresponding layout file, user profile layout. To drive the UI, our data model needs to hold the following data elements: user ID, user object. Mhm. User ID, identifier for the user. It's best to pass this information to the fragment using the fragment arguments. If the Android OS destroys our processes, information is preserved. So the ID is available the next time the app is restarted. User object, data class that holds details about the user. Mhm. Mhm. Gotcha. So, okay, so a view model object provides the data for a specific UI component, such as a fragment or activity, and contains a data handling business logic to communicate with the model. For example, the view model can call other components to load the data. It can forward the user request to modify the data. View model doesn't know about UI components, so it isn't affected by configuration changes, such as recreating an activity when rotating the device. Hmm. So question is, so when an activity is recreated, does it pull information from the view model directly? Hmm. Data, okay. Handling business logic. User requests can be forwarded to modify the data. So it's just sort of like, yeah, it just sort of sits in the middle, right? That's the thing. Like essentially, it can pull data from here, or it can take a request from the user. Like the user clicks on something in the activity, and it takes that request from the user and pushes it through to whatever is the underlying data source, right? To update the data, to modify the data. Yeah. So data business. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Define the following files: user profile fragment, and the view model. Okay. Layout file is omitted for simplicity. That's fine. User ID string, users. Okay. Equals to do. Yeah. Over the next like couple of weeks, I am also gonna do the um 2020 Advent of Code challenges. I'm gonna complete them. There are a bunch of them that are incomplete. I'm actually gonna skip the number 20, I think, which I was working on, and I will go on to the others. Because that one is like super long. Like it takes super long. I'll do that last, I think. I'll do all the other ones. I'll do all the other ones first, and then I'll come back to that. But yeah, I'll probably do the Advent of Code challenges tomorrow. Like, let me see if I can complete one of them. I'll just alternate between Android and that. So the Advent of Code challenges. I think AOC I have in GitHub. Did I not sign in to GitHub? No, I did. Um, Advent of Code 2020. Why did it say I'm offline? I'm live, bitch. Bruh, I'm literally live right now. I don't know what I don't know what's up with this. Adventofcode.com. I kind of solved day 20 part 1. I solved part 1. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What was the test for day 20? Resources. Okay, that's the input file. What was the test? Well, file name, test corner product, get corner product. Oh, it was literally what I wanted. Main input. Let me try pulling that in later on. I'll continue with that one. So, yeah. User profile fragment, build dot gradle file on grade view, user profile view model class. We need a way to inform the UI. To obtain the user of view model needs to access the fragment arguments. We can either pass them from fragment or better, using the saved state module, we can make our view model read the argument directly. Mhm. I don't know what saved state module is. View model saved state. Is that docs guides? Okay, so it's part of the architecture components. Okay, we'll get there. We'll get there. So this is our okay. So view model, we kind of save the view model inside the fragment. Like so, the fragment depends on the view model, right? I don't know what this by view models does, but yeah, we'll do this. Yeah, this is some sort of like delegation, right? Kotlin by. Why is it so bright? Turn it off on Stack Overflow for some stupid reason. I don't know why. You can understand by as provided by. Perspective of consumer, property consumer, val is something that has getter, and var is something that has getter and setter. For each var property, that is. Mhm. Yep, yep, yep. Getter setter is provided elsewhere. It's been delegated by the function that comes after by. Built-in get and set methods, you're delegating it to some explicit function. By lazy for lazy loading properties. If you're using dependency injection for by inject, okay, inject is a function from coin. By implementation, some other interface. I'm class my class, and I offer. Actually, if you do this, don't you need coin to be present even during your tests? Like you'll need your dependency injector to be available even during your tests, which I don't see as a good pattern. Like ideally, your tests shouldn't really require an injector because if you're using constructor injection, you should be able to just directly inject, right? Like you should be able to like just create your mock dependencies in your tests and then just throw them in, chuck them in into the constructor for whatever your code under test is. Some interface which is provided by some implementation. I'll implement some interface by myself. This code is saying I'm class my class. I offer functions of interface some interface which are provided by some implementation. I'll implement some other interface by myself. Okay, that's okay. This is great. Good answer. Good answer. Good answer. Right. I have a Stack Overflow account, right? Mm, Did I sign up with Google? Log in. I don't remember if I have like a separate Stack Overflow account or whether I have something. It's okay, I'll come to that later. Mm. User profile fragment, blah blah blah. So this extends this, okay. So on create view, layout inflator, container view group, return inflator to inflate. Okay, fine. So far we haven't really used the view model for anything. It's just really having this view model by view models, but we haven't really used it anywhere, right? How do we connect them? Yeah, user field is set in that. We need a way to inform the UI. To obtain the user, a view model needs to access the fragment arguments. What? User field is set in the view model to obtain, okay, the user of view model. Isn't it the fragment that needs to access the view model arguments? Because I'm confused. Okay, we can either pass them from the fragment or better using the save state module, we can make the view model read the argument directly. So the view model receives the saved state, user ID, string equals saved state handle UID, user equals to do, user profile view model by view models. So this is the fragment. In the fragment, you have saved state VM factory this. Saved state and arguments of the associated fragment or activity. Do fragments have arguments? Aren't they like a UI block, not a function? What arguments? What the hell are you talking about? Yeah, okay, now we need to inform a fragment when the user object is obtained. That's where the live data architecture component comes in. Observable data holder. Other components in your app can monitor changes to objects using this holder without creating explicit and rigid dependency paths. Mm-hmm. Already using RxJava, you can continue using them instead of live data when you use libraries and approaches like these. Make sure you handle your app's lifecycle properly. Ah, that's the problem. In particular, make sure to pause your data streams when the related lifecycle owner is stopped and to destroy these streams when the related lifecycle owner is destroyed. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. That's the thing. So we can migrate completely to Flow, but if you use Flow, you kind of have to write the thing which makes it stop producing data on your own. I think that's the problem. It doesn't understand life cycles, I suppose. You have to write that code yourself to stop the flow. Live data user. User profile fragment is informed. Lifecycle aware, it automatically cleans up and they're no longer needed. So this just becomes live data user. Hmm. On view created. When the view is created, at that point, you take view model.user.observe, view lifecycle owner. What the hell is view lifecycle owner? Where did this come from? I don't think this was mentioned anytime before this point. Was this mentioned anytime? View lifecycle owner? Just one match. Amazing. Um, User profile is updated, the on-change callback is invoked, and the UI is refreshed. Okay. We didn't override the fragments on stop method to stop observing the data. It's not necessary with live data because it's lifecycle aware. It doesn't invoke the on-change callback unless the fragment is in an active state. That is, it has received on start but hasn't yet received on stop. Live data also automatically removes the observer. when the fragments on destroy method is called. We didn't add any logic to handle configuration changes, automatically restored, same instance of the view model, callback is invoked immediately using the current data. View model objects are intended to outlast the corresponding view objects that they update. Okay. You shouldn't include direct references to view objects within your implementation of view model. Mm-hmm. Life cycle of a view model. Is this further in the guide? Architecture? Yeah, yeah, it's further. It's further in this only. Fetch data. We use live data to connect the user profile view model to the user profile fragment. How can we fetch the user profile data? Backend provides a REST API. Mhm. Retrofit to access the backend. You're free to use a different library that serves the same purpose. Definition of web service. Web service. Get user. First idea for implementing the view model might involve directly calling the web service. Mhm. So here's where you use the repository, I suppose. Handles the data operations to they provide a clean API so that you can just fetch it easily. Mm-hmm. User repository, web service, get user. Looks unnecessary, that's true, because it's sort of like, why don't you just call the web service directly? But ideally, because you want to abstract it away from the rest of your app. So yeah, it's not an optimal implementation because it doesn't take into account caching, but they'll improve that later. Okay. So right now it just calls the web service, underlying web service, right? Suspend fun. So it's basically, yeah, use a repository class needs an instance of web service. It could create the instance, but you want a dependency injected. Um, yep. Or service locator. I see. I didn't know there was a pattern called service locator. Isn't this like what they used to use for like those old service registry type of stuff? Like where you have like a global sort of microservices thing, and then this service locator is the one central service that you contact for figuring out where the rest of your services are. The problem is it becomes an SPOF, like it becomes a single point of failure. Anti-pattern, which obscures dependencies and makes software harder to test. Mm, oh yeah. Wait, does DI have the same problem with runtime errors? Difficult to trace, that's correct. Typically implemented. This, yeah, but this is not, shouldn't ideally be done. And in Android, luckily, it isn't done. So Dagger is good for that. Clients, it uses code generation is a lot better for that. Clients that demand configuration details, onerous when obvious defaults are available. Dependence on a framework, that's true. That is definitely true. Harder to test. Yeah. Same global service locator class to set the fake dependencies. Injecting application classes with a single service locator interface. Hmm. Simulator can be implemented to simulate each interface provided by the service locator. So you're you're mocking away the service locator itself. Oh my god. Mm. Uh, okay. Yeah. Nah. I feel like yeah that this pattern definitely worse than DI. We dropped any frames? Oh, we did drop some frames. 374. Interesting that I'm still having drop frames. Like, shouldn't be happening, but is it happening? Like, why is it happening? Like, CPU load or network? Maybe network issues? I don't know. How to replace my router? Hmm. Service locator, connect view model and repository. Oh wow, this is fairly long. We are still only halfway through this. Damn. Okay. Cool. Okay, we will continue this next stream. Or rather, next stream I might actually just do the Advent of Code challenges, the rest of them from 21 to 25. I think five or six of them are left. We'll complete those. Hopefully, we'll be able to complete all of them within the next 2 weeks, like before the next set of Advent of Code challenges starts on December 1st. So yeah. Okay, cool. So that's about it from me for today. I'll catch you guys in the next stream as usual. Usually I announce when I go live on Discord. The schedule says 11 to 12, but it isn't necessarily 11 to 12 all the time. Like today, I just had late breakfast, so super late breakfast. So it was just, yeah, 11:45 when I started. So anyway, yeah, that's generally where I announce my stream schedule. So join the Discord if you want to be up to date if you want to catch my streams, or just follow me on Twitch. And if Twitch is open, or if you have the app, I guess it will notify you. So anyway, all of that stuff. Catch you guys next time. See you. Bye bye.